Sedona, Arizona, a land of breathtaking beauty. Towering red rock formations pierce the sky. The air vibrates with ancient energy. For centuries, people have been drawn to this mystical place. The year is 2000. The summer sun beats down on Bell Rock, one of Sedona's most iconic vortex sites. Tourists and locals alike gather, drawn by the promise of spiritual experience. But high above, unseen by those below, something extraordinary is happening. A strange craft hangs in the air, its metallic hull shimmering, reflecting the desert sun. Among the missing is a young woman named Lisa. She vanished without a trace while hiking near Airport Mesa, another powerful vortex site. Her boyfriend Mark is devastated. He refuses to believe she is gone. Driven by grief, he begins his own investigation. He pores over police reports. He interviews witnesses. He delves into the history of Sedona's vortexes. He learns of ancient legends, stories whispered by the indigenous people for generations, tales of beings from other realms. Mark begins to suspect that Lisa's disappearance is no ordinary missing persons case. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange, purple, and crimson. Lisa and her friends, Mark, Jenna, and Tom, arrived at Airport Mesa. Drawn by the allure of the vortex, they hoped to experience its mystical energy. Laughter echoed through the still air as they explored the ancient rock formations. Lisa, ever the photographer, captured the beauty of the moment. As twilight deepened, a palpable energy settled over the mesa. Jenna shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her. "Do you ever feel like we're being watched?" she whispered. Tom, ever the skeptic, scoffed at her unease. "Let's get the campfire going." The flames of their campfire danced in the darkness, providing a small circle of warmth. Stories and laughter flowed as freely as the wine they shared. But as the night deepened, so too did the feeling that they were not alone. A strange humming filled the air, barely audible at first, but growing steadily louder. The hairs on the back of Mark's neck stood on end. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice tight with apprehension. Before anyone could answer, a blinding light erupted in the sky above them. It pulsed with an otherworldly glow, casting eerie shadows. Lisa, transfixed by the spectacle, rose to her feet. "Lisa, wait!" Mark cried out, reaching for her hand. One moment Lisa stood on the edge of the mesa, bathed in the otherworldly glow. The next, she was gone, vanished without a trace. Mark, his heart pounding, rushed to the edge, peering into the darkness. "Lisa!" he shouted, his voice hoarse with panic. Jenna and Tom joined Mark at the precipice. The light in the sky flickered once, then vanished, plunging them into darkness. "We have to find her," Mark said, his voice shaking with determination. As dawn painted the eastern sky, the first responders arrived. Mark, his voice raspy from shouting Lisa's name, recounted their story. He spoke of the light, the humming, the sudden disappearance. The park ranger, a seasoned veteran, listened patiently. The search party fanned out across the mesa. They combed through the scrub and rocks, their calls of Lisa echoing. And then, they found it. Lying abandoned on the ground, its lens cracked, was Lisa's camera. The disappearance of Lisa sent shockwaves through Sedona. The once peaceful town now held its breath, shrouded in fear. Tourists hesitated, their whispers filled with unease. The locals couldn't shake the feeling that this time was different. Theories abounded: alien abduction, government conspiracies, a tragic accident. The media descended upon Sedona, drawn to the sensational story. News vans lined the streets, capturing the fear and uncertainty. The vortexes, once revered, were now portrayed as sinister gateways to the unknown. Mark, consumed by grief, refused to give up hope. He withdrew from his life, immersing himself in the mystery. He returned to Airport Mesa day after day, retracing their steps. The vortex's energy hummed around him, a constant reminder of the unseen forces. Mark sought out anyone who might have information. He interviewed local historians, pored over ancient texts, and listened to tales whispered by elders. He learned of indigenous legends that spoke of beings from other realms. His search led him deeper into the heart of Sedona's mysteries. Mark stumbled upon a local legend, a hermit known only as Old Joe. Rumor had it that Old Joe possessed an uncanny understanding of the vortexes. Intrigued, Mark set out to find Old Joe. He followed a barely there trail through a dense thicket of juniper trees. He emerged into a small clearing where a ramshackle cabin stood. A wizened figure sat on the porch, whittling a piece of wood. Hesitantly, Mark approached, sharing the story of Lisa's disappearance. Old Joe listened intently, his gaze never leaving Mark's face. When Mark finished his story, Old Joe remained silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke, his voice raspy but strong. "The vortexes," he said. "They ain't nothing to be trifled with, son. They're powerful, ancient beings. They got a hunger, a thirst for energy, for life force. You see, these vortexes, they feed on emotions. Fear, despair, hope, it all fuels them. And sometimes, they take more than just emotions. They take souls. Your girl," Old Joe continued, "she was special. A bright light. And bright lights, well, they attract the darkness." The weight of Old Joe's warning pressed heavily on Mark's soul. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that Lisa was still out there. Armed with Lisa's camera, Mark returned to the site of her disappearance. The night air was still, the silence broken only by the distant howl of a coyote. The energy of the vortex felt strangely muted, as if it were holding its breath. And then he saw it. The light, pulsating gently in the distance, almost beckoning him closer. Memories of Lisa's disappearance flooded his mind. Taking a deep breath, he started towards the light. Each step towards the pulsating light filled Mark with unease. The air grew colder, the scent of sage and pine replaced by a metallic tang. He could hear whispers now, faint and indistinct. He recognized one voice. Lisa, her voice filled with terror, calling his name. Other voices joined hers, a chorus of despair. The ground beneath Mark's feet seemed to shift. He stumbled, dropping the camera with a clatter. The whispers intensified, swirling around him. A terrifying realization washed over Mark. This light, this vortex, it wasn't a source of mystical energy, but a prison. A graveyard of souls trapped within its swirling depths. Lisa was gone, lost in a sea of faces, and he was about to join her. Panic surged through him. He turned and ran, his flashlight beam bouncing erratically. The whispers chased after him, urging him to stop. But the sight of those faces spurred him onward. He didn't dare look back. The first rays of dawn painted the eastern sky as Mark stumbled out of the desert. The familiar sights of his town had never seemed so welcoming. He leaned against a building, his chest heaving, his body racked with sobs. Tears of grief for Lisa, tears of relief for his own narrow escape. The nightmare was over. He had escaped the vortex's grasp. But he would never be the same. He had found sanctuary, but a part of him would forever remain in the shadow of the vortex. The aroma of coffee and frying bacon filled the diner, a stark contrast to the metallic tang that lingered in Mark's nostrils. He sat hunched over a cup of coffee, the steam doing little to warm the chill that had seeped into his bones. His words tumbled out, a jumbled account of the night's horrors. Jenna and Tom listened, their faces pale with shock. They had spent the night searching for Mark, their fear for Lisa's fate now compounded by his disappearance. Part of them wanted to dismiss his story as a delusion, a side effect of the trauma they had all endured. But the haunted look in his eyes, the raw terror that clung to him like a shroud, spoke of a truth too terrible to ignore. He told them of the faces trapped within the light of the whispers that promised knowledge and offered only despair. He described the vortex's hunger, its insatiable need to consume not just energy but souls. He spoke of Lisa, her voice a fading echo in the darkness, pleading for a rescue that would never come. His words hung heavy in the air, a suffocating blanket of fear settling over the diner booth. The normalcy of their surroundings, the clatter of dishes, and the murmur of conversations seemed to fade away, replaced by the chilling reality of what Mark had witnessed at the vortex's edge. Mark's story spread through Sedona like wildfire, carried on the wind that whipped through the canyons. Tourists, drawn to the town's mystical reputation, found themselves caught between fascination and fear. Some scoffed at the tale, dismissing it as the ramblings of a grieving man. Others, however, felt a shiver of unease, their belief in the vortex's power now tainted by a darker possibility. The town itself was divided. Some residents, their livelihoods dependent on the tourist trade, downplayed the incident, assuring visitors that Sedona was safe. Others, however, whispered of ancient legends, of sacrifices made to appease the vortex's hunger, their words tinged with a fear that stretched back generations. The authorities, caught between the need to maintain calm and the unsettling circumstances surrounding Lisa's disappearance, launched a full investigation. But the search for answers, like so many before, yielded no results. The vortex, it seemed, guarded its secrets jealously. Mark, ostracized by some and pitied by others, found himself increasingly isolated. He had tried to warn them, to expose the darkness that lurked beneath Sedona's beauty, but his words had fallen on deaf ears, lost in the cacophony of belief and denial. Time, that relentless force, marched on. The initial shock of Lisa's disappearance faded, replaced by a dull ache of loss that permeated the town. Her missing person posters, once a common sight, became faded relics, their edges curled and torn, clinging to telephone poles like ghostly reminders of a mystery unsolved. The vortexes, however, remained. Their energy, once a source of wonder and speculation, now carried a chilling undercurrent of fear. Tourists still flocked to Sedona, drawn by its mystical allure, but their laughter seemed less carefree, their whispers tinged with a newfound respect for the forces they sought to understand. The town, forever marked by the tragedy, struggled to find a balance between its spiritual identity and the shadow of the unexplained. The vortexes, once a source of pride and revenue, now served as a constant reminder of the fragility of life, the thin veil that separated the known from the unknown. Mark, his hair streaked with gray, his face etched with the passage of time, never forgot Lisa. He carried her memory with him, a bittersweet ache in his heart. He had learned to navigate the world without her, but a part of him, a part that had vanished with her that night on Airport Mesa, would forever remain lost in the vortex's embrace. The stars wheeled across the night sky, their ancient light painting the red rocks in shades of silver and shadow. The desert wind whispered through the canyons, carrying with it the secrets of a land as old as time itself. Sedona slept, its beauty masking a darkness that had haunted it for generations. And at the heart of it all, the vortexes stood watch. Silent sentinels, their energy pulsing with an ancient rhythm. They had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of human drama. They had felt the joy and the sorrow, the hope and the despair that painted the tapestry of human existence. Whether they were benevolent forces, malevolent entities, or simply indifferent observers in the grand scheme of things, remained a mystery. But one thing was certain. The vortexes held a power that defied explanation, a power that could both heal and destroy, a power that had claimed Lisa and left an indelible mark on the soul of a town. And so, the story of the vanishing at Vortex Point lived on, passed down through generations, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires, a reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved, some doors best left unopened. For in the heart of Sedona's beauty, beneath the surface of its spiritual allure, the vortexes continued to watch, their gaze fixed on a world forever changed by their presence.